All right, welcome to our press conference for the Clemson Virginia Tech game. Kickoff will be 6:05 p.m. in Lane Stadium. Be on ESPN2. And yesterday was announced the Clemson-Boston College game will be a 3 o'clock start in Death Valley on October the 8th. Will be televised by Fox Regional Network. I'd like Herb Tyler from Chick-fil-A in Seneca and Clemson for providing our lunch today. I'll turn it over to Coach.
Okay, just getting ready for another really good football team. We're got another big challenge on our hands, back to back. Pretty much top 10 type teams, and Virginia Tech is the ACC champion, and in my opinion, the best team in our league, and I think they've earned that. They've won 12 ACC games in a row. They've won 15 regular season games in a row. So, they've been very tough to beat. Obviously, they're very well coached. I got a ton of respect for Coach Beamer. He has been great since my last couple years and going to meetings and things like that. I mean, he's a class guy, very genuine, and obviously has done a great job with their program and staff and players and all of that. But they play really hard. That's the one thing that above all things, they're talented and all that, but they play really hard in all phases. And again, just going to be a tough challenge. And I think they're the only team in the country that's had 7 10-win seasons in a row. So very consistent in what they do from a program standpoint, and obviously very very tough to beat at home. But for us, we got to play well. I mean, we got to play as well as we can, and try to have our first complete game. We've not played a complete game. We've found a way to win, but we have not put it together yet, and that's what we got to do. We got to keep improving and just stay focused, and just stay committed, to what our standard is, and see if we can play that complete game, because that's probably what it's going to take. When you look at them as a team, their offense, I mean, the first thing they want to run the football. And that's who they are. It's what they want to do. I think they're running it about 44 times a game on average, and they're very good at it. Very physical up front. They're big, NFL type guys in the offensive line. Bunch of veterans. The center's the only new guy. So they got a lot of guys that's played a bunch of snaps, played a lot of winning football for them in the offensive line. And their 2 running backs, number 4 and number 2, have scored 10 of their 11 rushing touchdowns, and both of them can play. Wilson is I think he's averaging almost 130 yards a game, and that number 2 is pretty doggone good as well. So they're a handful, when it comes to trying to stop the run. Their receivers are all good. They got a good group, I would say. They got 4 guys that are very productive, and the thing that about them, if you look at them, they spread it around. It's not just one guy that you got to go defend. All those guys have touches and have been very productive. And I would imagine they'll probably get 81, back going full speed. He's a guy that started a ton of games for them, and he's been dealing with a little bit of a hamstring, but would expect to see him Saturday night. But defensively, we've got to stop the run. I mean, that's where it starts for us. If they can have a big night running the ball, it's probably going to be a long night for us. Try to eliminate big plays. That's going to be key. Their defense is going to be a real challenge for us offensively. It's again, 2 weeks in a row we've played a top 10 defense, 2 of the best defenses in the country, and Virginia Tech is certainly as good as there is out there. They're giving up 10 points a game, 231 yards a game. They're top 5 in about all the statistics, and pretty much number 1 in our conference and everything. So only giving up 43 yards rushing, and 27% on third down. So we've got a tough task. They lead our league in sacks, 14 sacks. I think they're second in our league in interceptions with 7. And they're a little unique. You know, they play an 8-man front, and you know, they play a lot of robber coverage, which is not something you see a whole bunch. So it's a little bit different from a game plan standpoint. And, you know, but it all goes back to their personnel. They got good people. Their D-line is you know, built to stop the run. They're big, thick, strong guys up front. You know, they're 4-2-5 type of a scheme, but the two linebackers are both South Carolinians, and I know a lot about those guys. Very good players, Bruce Taylor and Edwards, 51 and 24. They're really solid. They're very good in the secondary. Number 20 is, a lot of people think he might be the best corner in the league. You know, just overall a very talented defense. And then if you look at them on special teams, everybody knows they've always been really good special teams wise. And you know, they lead our league in kickoff return, and I think they're third in punt return. So another, you know, 2 weeks in a row, we're facing some dangerous returners, and so we're going to have to really step up to that challenge. And but the bottom line is we got to be sound on defense. You know, try to eliminate big plays. We got to do a good job of winning the turnover margin. Offensively, we got to handle the environment, and just you know, continue to do a good job in special teams. I think that's going to be critical again. But from an injury standpoint, Mansa Joseph is out. You know, he's definitely going to be out. Dawson Zimmerman, you know, DJ Howard and Nuke, I would say, are probable. I guess that's the word, probable at this point. You know, probably will be limited today, and maybe a little bit tomorrow. But I would say, you know, most likely all three of those guys will probably have a chance to play for us on Saturday night. So, but we're looking forward to it, excited about it. You know, I mean, I'm anxious to take this bunch on the road and, you know, really kind of see where we are. You know, we've been a good home team, and you know, now we got to be able to go and win on the road, and you know, we're starting at the top. This will be a big test for us. It certainly is not getting any easier. That's for sure. Every week, kind of look up and say, all right, here just keeps getting bigger and bigger. But it's a lot of fun. I like the demeanor of our team and where they are mentally. You know, they're excited about you know, going and playing in that venue, and we'll prepare very hard for it this week, and hopefully we'll play well.
Is it safe to say, based on what you say about their defensive line, this could be the truest test of that physicality you've talked about getting?
Well, I mean, you know, Florida State is pretty good up front. I mean, you know, like I said, I mean, you can just kind of flip a coin. Both these defenses both those defenses are very talented, but you know, these guys you know, are built a little differently, you know, body types as opposed to Florida State. You know, they're not quite as tall, but they're a little wider and a little thicker, and just like I said, they are built to stop the run. You know, with that 8-man front type of deal that they play, and they recruit to that. They play it very well. You know, so, you know, but I you know, again, we're going to line up and get after them, but it'll be a physical game. That'll be a big part of it, and who can sustain it for 4 quarters.
Based on their first 4 opponents, is it difficult to get a real accurate gauge on the level of the competition?
Well, I mean, you know, they're 4-0, and you know, they've played some solid teams. I mean, it's, you know, you just really, all you can go by is they've gotten it done, and you can evaluate personnel and schemes and all that kind of stuff, which is really what we're most interested in. You know, regardless of who they've played, this is conference, you know, and this will be we'll get their best. You know, we'll get the very best they got, and it's going to take our best as well.
Does that scheme, the defensive scheme, present any unique problems for you, or is it just another twist on an old?
No, it's different. I mean, because you don't really see it. So this is the one game that you know, you have to, you know, really prepared. You know, most teams there's carryover in this game too. I mean, they'll play some cover one and some quarters and things that you see on a week-to-week basis. But you know, the robber coverage is not something you see every week. It's a little different, and so you got to do a good job of really you know, schooling your guys up on how to attack it and what we're trying to do and why, and recognizing you know, when they're playing that type of front and coverage.
Have you seen Foster's defense evolve with, you know, more spread offenses and that sort of thing?
You know, they've done a good job. I mean, they look to me like they're, you know, getting back to, you know, what they've always been. You know, last year, you know, they had some young guys in there playing, and they're still pretty young. I mean, if you look at their defensive front, I think they've got one junior, and the rest of them are sophomores and freshmen. So they're still pretty young up front and growing into their system. But, you know, it's just they do what they do. I don't really see any change at all. And I've only seen them twice since I've been in this league, and you know, it's really just more difference in the personnel. You know, that's really about it. Scheme-wise, they're pretty much the same.
After a big win over the defending national champs and then the defending Atlanta Division champs, do you at all worry about maybe a little bit of a letdown, or do you think the fact that going on the road to the hostile environment is going to help prevent that?
No, I think they're ready. You know, they're just, like I said, they've been a easy group to refocus every week. I mean, and I think our schedule has helped us, to be honest with you, because we hadn't had a chance to, you know, think about, you know, the last game because we've been so consumed with the next game. You know, from a player standpoint, you know, I think that's been good. And then the fact that now that you're going on the road, that's a little different too. But, you know, these guys, they have a ton of respect for, you know, our conference opponents, and we're in the middle of it right now. That's our next goal, and every game counts. Every single game counts. You know, we've had our non-conference games are over with, and I just hope that, as I said Sunday, that they'll, you know, handle 4-0 like they did 1-0, 2-0, and 3-0. You know, just keep working and stay humble, stay hungry, and just keep grinding every day, trying to get better.
So many true freshmen and redshirt freshmen that have never made a college road trip before. Are you doing anything different for these guys to kind of get them prepared for what to expect, or just relying on the senior guys?
No, we'll just, the only thing we'll do different is we'll have a bunch of crowd noise at practice to try to prepare it won't be a problem for our defense. They'll be pretty quiet when we're on defense. You know, it won't be, that's not a problem. But offensively, we'll try to really challenge them this week in practice, communication, really getting dialed in on the signals, you know, and you know, making the calls, snap counts, you know, just execution with extreme noise. You know, that's a little different because when we're home, we don't have that type of issue. Most of the time we're on offense, they're you know, pretty tame around here, like most stadiums. But that's really the only thing. Other than that, I mean, my big thing is you know, if you're a good player, you'll be a good player wherever. I mean, you know, they're not going to change the field. It's 53 1/3. It's 100 yards. The ball's the same. You know, we put on our uniform. You know, if you're a good player, you know, if your performance is determined by where you play, then you're not mentally where you need to be. You don't have the focus that you got to have be a great player. You know, those external things cannot affect performance. You can't allow it to affect your you know, cause you to stumble out there. You've got to be focused and dialed in on what you're doing every single snap. Just focus on the process and executing, you know, whatever's called. That's the big thing. You know, Michael Jordan, when he walked into a gym, it didn't matter where he walked into a gym, he was going to play. And, you know, whether they were yelling at him or yelling for him. And I think, you know, going on the road, if you have the right mentality, you know, you can be energized by an opposing crowd, you know. And so I'll just talk to them about, you know, hey, just mentally be ready, you know, for them to yell at you. Talk about, you know, your uniform and your mama and whatever, you know. Just don't let that stuff affect you. It has nothing to do with anything. You know, play the game. The game is decided by the players on the field. And, That's about all we'll do.
What is it about that place that's been so tough for opponents besides Virginia Tech just having a bunch of really good teams?
Well, I've only been up there once, and I think you just said it. They've been a really good football team. They're the only team in America that's had 7, 10-win seasons in a row. So there's a lot of good football teams out there, and they've been really good. Coach Beamer and his staff is outstanding. They've been there a long time. They've got a culture in place. They've recruited to it, and they've just got a really good football team and a good program. It's a hard place to go win. It's a hard place here to come win. It's tough. But it all goes back to what kind of players you have, and they've had really good players, and they've been a dominant team, a very consistent team.
I'm sorry. Good linebackers and DBs seem to have more tackles for loss than you normally see. Is that the byproduct of the 8-man front? Is that them blitzing?
Yeah, and they're active. I mean, they'll bring pressures. They like to blitz those guys with some field pressures and boundary pressures, and you'll see them, in the backfield quite a bit. And then a lot of times it's also a byproduct of them guys up front. There's nowhere to go, and things get bounced, and then they tackle them for -1 or -2. But they're really good tacklers. Both those guys are, two of the best in the league right now from a tackling standpoint.
What do you, anytime you want to defeat a defense, you have to understand what it is he wants to do. And with this, he seems to like these kind of hybrid players in terms of body size and all. What's he want to do? What's his?
Well, he wants to be an 8-man front, and he the 4-2-5, and I think we ran that here at one point. Maybe back when I first came, maybe right before I got here, they were doing a little bit of that here. It's a unique style of play because your corners will go play half field coverage. They're up, but then all of a sudden ball snaps and they're playing half field coverage, and then next time, they're supporting on the run. And there's just it's a little different, and so you have to really understand. And so it's a great run stopping defense, and there's some you got to understand how to attack it from a passing game standpoint, but you got to protect. You may look out there and see some grass to throw into, but there's a lot of pressure coming at you as well, and so they've just done a good job of recruiting guys that can run, body types that can really cover, and also can rush the passer, and can line up and tackle big guys in space, whether it's a tight end or whoever. And so they don't have to do a lot of subbing. They can pretty much play with their personnel, and that's the big key for them, as opposed to a lot of teams out there where you have to really match personnel a lot based on what the offense is doing, and you don't see that quite as much with Virginia Tech. They put their people out there and they play.
Did you say he does a lot of cover? You said you made some reference to cover too.
Well, they'll play the robber coverage. Is where they'll take their corners and play half field. Kind of like a cover 2, and that's different. You don't usually see that. Most time you see a cover 2, it's safeties. But now in this scheme, it'll be the corners going back, and then they got all the underneath players, and then a linebacker up in a robber spot. It's a different scheme, and just don't see it a lot. So that's the thing. But it's not all they do. Then they line up, and you think they're in robber coverage, and they're playing middle of field, cover 1. So it's a unique scheme, and you have to understand it to be able to attack it.
You haven't seen them this year against a team that really passes a bunch.
Sure we have. Oh, yeah. East Carolina throws it a ton. Marshall throws it. Arkansas State throws it. Yeah. We've seen a bunch of passing game against them.
Disguise?
Yeah, they do a good job of disguise. Yep, they do. They do a good job with trying to make things look the same, and then they'll change on you, and then they'll bring pressure and they mix it up. It's a good scheme and very well coached. Those guys understand what they're doing. They play with leverage. That's a big part of what they do, and so.
He's okay with leaving corners one-on-one?
Oh yeah. They do what they do. It don't matter if they're playing Clemson or the New York Jets. They're going to line up and be Virginia Tech, And that has been the same consistent thing with them, and I don't blame them. They've had a ton of success, and they've been very good at it. But they'll play a lot of man coverage, and so they'll take their corners and their safeties and line up and cover you. They're very good at it.
Seems like this week, with that said, that even though film study is always important for your players, but for Taj and the receivers, it'd be particularly important that they really watch Virginia Tech film this week and study as much as they can, right?
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. That's every week. I mean, every week. I mean, we do a ton of film study. I mean, that's the game within the game is knowledge of what formations you see, what comes off of this personnel grouping, tendencies, and as coaches, we're always playing that cat and mouse game. We're always studying ourselves too, to try to see what they're seeing, and then okay, well we've been doing a lot of running off of this personnel set or this motion or whatever. We need to make sure that maybe it's a great time for a play action off of that. So I mean, you're always playing that game back and forth as a coaching staff versus other coaching staff, and then you get into the game and you really get a feel for, okay, here's where we're going today, and then you go from there. But film study is critical, and knowledge is critical. That's the part of this game that young players just that's what takes most young guys a little while to develop, is really understanding the importance of the details and just gaining the knowledge. And it keeps a more talented guy off the field, because you have a veteran guy who plays better. He's not quite as talented, but he plays better. He's more dependable. He's maybe not even as fast, but he plays faster because of knowledge, because he really understands your system. He understands how to apply the system, and then more importantly, he understands the opponent and what they're trying to do in that situation. And that is, I mean, that's what it's all about, especially defensively. I mean, formation recognition, strategic situation, what comes off of it. I mean, that's what defensive football is all about.
That Bud Foster does so much post-snap, and there's so much disguise. Is there more on Tiger's shoulders than normal as far as diagnosing post-snap?
Well, not really. Not really. I mean, it's no different than every week. I mean, we see disguises all the time. I mean, that's how you train your quarterback every week on where to put your eyes, and this is the key to the decision. This guy or this technique or the leverage of an alignment of a player. I mean, there's always things every week that we coach them on, as far as, hey, the passing game, the running game, here's the critical guy that's going to tell us the front or the pressure or the coverage, give us a tip, and then you confirm it, on the snap, and play ball.
How much does that winning mentality that you've established over the last 4 games carry over into the next game, this one on the road with the young quarterback? Does the confidence that he's gained the first month really help going forward, that you've kind of reestablished how to win games that are close?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that it gives him a ton of confidence. It should be. I mean, he's had some success, and success breeds that. So I like that much better than being 0-4, and that's for sure. I feel a little better about that.
I think one thing that's kind of maybe not been overlooked, but it's really stood out to me, over the past couple of years, we've talked about drop passes here.
Yeah.
Killing drives on 3rd down, and not only are there not many drops, but guys are making actually incredible catches on 3rd down. Can you talk about that?
Well, they're just doing a great job. I mean, we've got good players. I think we've had just a couple drops. Andre had a drop Saturday, and Brandon Ford had a drop. But other than that, we've caught the ball very well in the first 4 games, and that's critical to what we do, in the passing game. But we've just, we've got good players, and that's what they're doing. They're doing their job. That's what they're supposed to do. I mean, we want to have guys in here that can catch it, and we've been pretty good. Last year we struggled, but we've kind of transformed in that area from a recruiting standpoint, and those guys have stepped up for us. I mean, Jerron's been outstanding. Nuke, did a great job last year, but he's just a more confident, knowledgeable player this year that understands some of the nuances of the position better, and so now he's not thinking about some things, and that's just really led to great consistency. Sammy Watkins is just he's just a great player. Sharon has done fine. You know, Adam Humphreys has got great hands. I mean, all those guys that we've tried to recruit guys that can really catch the football. So they're doing a good job of it. And then Taj is putting it on the money. You know, I mean, they've made a couple, you know, some great catches for him, but he's been a very accurate thrower, and our offensive line has you know, done a good job of protecting him.
Where's David Smith at?
He'll be ready to go. I think he's going to be able to go this week. We were going to try to hold him last week if we could. I think he could have played. He probably wanted to play, but we really wanted to see if we could, you know, get through the game and you know, just try to get him another week. So I think he'll be ready.
Thomas will start at guard.
Well, ask me that on Thursday. You know, we got to get through today and tomorrow, and before we make that decision. You'll see how they practice and compete.
We talked about their defense a lot. Offensively, their quarterback is 6'5", 255 pounds. Do you have anybody that can, you know, last year you used Vic Beasley, I guess, to kind of sim Cam Newton. Do you have anybody like that this week?
Not really. Not really. He is a different kind of guy, and they'll use him a good bit, like we use Taj. I mean, they're going to try to run him. They do some of the same things that we do offensively. They're a lot more shotgun. You know, when you think of Virginia Tech, you think of just I formation, and here they come. But you know, they're a little bit more spread than you would think, and a lot of that's to try to take advantage of their quarterback. You know, 6'6", 250, and he's got a cannon arm. And he's hard to tackle, so he's a very effective runner, and you know, we'll have to do a great job of tackling him. And I would think that they will definitely try to run him against us, you know, maybe offset some speed and aggressiveness that we have.
I haven't heard you talk about this much lately, but when you had that 12-person recruiting class a couple of years ago, I mean, what's going on now isn't a big surprise. You were aware that I was going to leave you a little short, but I'm not asking if you second-guess yourself, but just give us your thoughts at the time as to why you wanted to keep it so low. I mean,
Yeah.
It would be nice to have a couple extra offensive linemen or linebackers or something now.
Yeah. Well, we looked at our personnel at the time as far as where we were, and you know, and then bringing the staff together and really kind of establishing our criteria, critical factors for each position and how we wanted to recruit. And we just made a commitment that, and obviously, you know, it was a crazy season, you know, and so it's not like we had everybody just knocking on the door to come to Clemson. But what we wanted to do was, you know, take a year and go build. And we knew that it was going to take a year. I mean, recruiting is that's just where it is now. I mean, if you're not, I mean, we're like right now, we're way on our 2013 group. I mean, we're almost done here with this 12 class. We were trying to sign 2009s, and we were way behind on 2010s, just because of change and transition and just, you know, being unsettled. So and then new staff, coaches, you know, areas, you know, you just did, you know, recruiting is so much about stability and relationships, knowledge of the young players, and we didn't have that, you know, in several cases. So we were just way behind, and we made a decision, a very conscious decision that hey, we're gonna push these scholarships forward. You know, and we put a lot of walk-ons on scholarship, but, you know, we had to do that because you can't bring guys in mid-year if you're not at 85. You know, so if you have 5 scholarships available in August, well, you have to award them if you're going to bring guys in December. Otherwise, you can't bring them in. And so that was the rule. And but we were fine with that. And, you know, we felt like we had enough good players, upperclassmen, to really go and compete, you know, that first year, even though we were going to have a freshman quarterback. And that proved to be the case. I mean, we had to kind of grow into it a little bit, and we turned out to be pretty good, you know, and you know, had, like I said, won the only championship of any kind here in 20 years. So, it was a good start. And then but the main thing is we really got our recruiting established. We laid a foundation that first year. Those guys we signed, those 12 we signed, have really been productive for us. Obviously J.K. Never really got to get his career going, although he's helping us coach and doing a great job with that. And very proud of him. He's going to graduate in 3 years. Those guys have done a really good job. So I think we did a good job evaluating the small group. And then, I think we signed a good class the next year. We redshirted just about all of them, which was really, again, another conscious effort. And knowing this year was going to be a year that we felt like we could sign a great class. And we did that, and a lot of them are playing right now. And redshirting, I think, 15 guys this year and playing 12 of them. We'll hopefully put another great class together here, and that's what we're trying to do. And we've proven that if you're a good player and you're young, we'll play you. We're going to play the best guys. So I like where we are from a recruiting standpoint. I mean, we're a kind of a split team. You'd like to kind of have a little bit more stability in between your freshmen and your seniors, but it is what it is right now. But we'll grow up, and I like them. We just gotta live with them.
From a communication standpoint, your offense uses so many signals, and there's not a lot of doesn't have to do a lot of audible calls. Where does the crowd noise present the biggest challenge as far as communication? And
well, he's got to communicate to the offensive lineman. Our OL doesn't read any signals. Used to, they did, and so it wasn't as big a deal then. Now there's a little bit more communication that goes on with our offensive line. Our signal system is really simpler than it's been, but it's which you would because it has to be able to go as fast as we go. Just making sure that they get the call. Hey, what's the protection? What's the play? Which way we're running it? And then they got to hear the snap count. And if you can't hear the snap count, then you have to have a silent count. And so you got to be able to execute that. And we've done that. In fact, we did that Saturday. We actually had a couple of situations Saturday where it was really loud on offense, and we had to go to a silent count, just because Dalton couldn't hear.
I wanted to ask about Taj. I know his parents moved down here from Virginia to follow him and kind of give him a support system. I wonder if you'd ever had a situation like that with a quarterback, and kind of what kind of influence you feel like his parents have had for him.
A quarterback, I'm trying to think. We've had a lot of quarterbacks here who've had a tremendous support system from a parent standpoint, but I don't know if any of them have actually moved here. But we've had parents move here. We've had that happen many times. It's not uncommon at all for people to want to move closer to where their son is if they have the freedom to do that.
Coach, you guys have been really exceptional on third down, but not necessarily so much on short yardage situations. What's been the issue there as you see it?
Just really, sometimes it's a bad call, but in our case, I haven't had any problem with any call that we've made. We just have had, one or two or three guys, not perform their job. And it's glaring, but, there's a lot of times we've done well. We've done very well. It's like we needed 1 yard on the goal line the other day. Well, we knocked a quarterback sneak in there that would have got 3 yards. We needed 1 yard on the score that Andre Ellington scored on. We're on the 1 yard line. Well, he didn't even get touched hardly until he was 3 yards in the end zone. Philip Price just crushed his whole left side, blocked 2 guys, and so we've done a really good job at times too. But it's disappointing because we've had a couple games where we've had 3rd and 1 and didn't get it, and then the 4th and 1 obviously was. And the thing about the 4th and 1 the other day is, we had run that play twice and had been very effective with it, and we really felt like, and we had them outflanked. We had, it wasn't a scheme problem. We had exactly what we needed. We just did not execute it. And it doesn't matter if it's 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1 or 1st and 10 or 2nd and 5. I mean, you have to execute. You got to have 11 guys do their job so you have a chance to be successful on the play. And when you don't have that, there's a good chance it won't be successful. And then you got to give the opponent some credit too. They got good players, and sometimes they win. Sometimes they whip your guy. So especially when you're playing a really, really good football team. Forget Florida State, was pretty good.
It's been pretty uncanny, though, the success you've had. You hear so much about staying on schedule and ahead of the chains, but then, you've almost been more successful in 3rd and medium, 3rd and long.
Yeah. Well, that's those critical downs where we have to, we got to make sure we perform, all the time. It's definitely an area we got to improve in.
Looking at other options, place kicking?
No, we're 4 out of 6. I mean, we've been pretty solid. Disappointed we missed that one the other day, but I'm happy. I mean, first of all, we're not kicking many field goals, and we're 4 for 6. I wish we were 6 for 6, but we're all right.
One earlier, would you have kicked it at the end?
What's that again?
If he made the one earlier?
No. I wanted to win the game, and that was my decision all the way. And yeah, but if I get that 1 yard, we're gonna end it. We're gonna take a knee and put the game away, and that's what was my mentality. I mean, I don't want to put it on the kicker. I mean, we got an offense that's got to get 1 yard. And it's very capable of getting 1 yard, and that was probably the most disappointing thing to me in the game is we didn't get it done in a critical situation. And I also had confidence that our defense would stop them. I just didn't think they could go and score a touchdown with the amount of time. If it had been more time on the clock, a different deal. But with where we were in that game, I just my mentality was let's finish them off. And disappointed we didn't do it, but it was good to see our defense go out there and finish it. Say that again?
4th and 1, you won for 5.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. Not good.
Any concerns about Wilson? You're going to kick away from him or kick to him?
Yeah, I'm real concerned. They're really good returner, and just like last week, they had dangerous people, but I feel confident with our coverage people, and we've done a good job in that area. That's one that's been a real consistent thing for us as far as kickoff coverage and coverage on the punt team. We've been pretty solid.
I believe that's 2 games now that Rennie's sort of made the big 4th down stop to sort of seal the win for you. Can you be a clutch player on defense?
Sure. Yeah, you can be a clutch player anywhere. But he's just he's playing well. He's still growing as a player. This is really his first year being a starter, and he's been a guy that has been learning for 5 years now, and it's really good to see him have that kind of success. Really good. I'm happy for him. He plays with great energy. I mean, if you watch our film, Rennie Moore is all in. And, I love that about him. So I'm proud of him for stepping up the way he did. And it was a big, big play. But if you go back and you watch that play and you look at Malachi and you look at Andre Branch, shoot, they completely closed the pocket. And then Brandon and Rennie on the inside just collapsed. He didn't have time to do anything. And it was a 4-man rush, and our 4 just brought it. And so that was Rennie got the credit for finishing it off, but all four of them got it done on that play.
Anything else?
All righty.